Hello, my crafty friends. This is Debbie from the Dior Design Studio. And today I am out front in my showroom. And I wanted to talk to you guys about something that's been on my mind. And it's something that happens when I talk to creatives and they say, well, I did this and I did that. And then they say, what now? What do I do now? So I thought I'd put this little series together just to talk about it and go over what are the things that creatives think about or even brand new people. Now, today I'm going to be streaming from two places. So if you see me moving my head around, that's what it is. I'm going to first try to get the chat going. So let's see if I can see what's happening here. Oh, there we are. All right, I'll be able to check out what people are saying. So if you are here with me, and if you're not, that's fine. You can watch it later. Um, Drop a line in the chat and let me know where you're watching from. And if not, and you want to watch this later, it will be in our YouTube series of What Now. So, when you finish a piece and you're thinking to yourself, all right, I just made a gorgeous shell. I did a resin piece or a decoupage project. All of those things just you love what you've done and you say to yourself, okay, now what do I do with that? I'm not a seller, I don't have a store, I don't want to do shows. So what do you do? So most people tell me that they just keep them. And after a while, you've got a big house full of shells. So today's first episode, we're going to start with that what happens when you take that hobby and you move it over to your heart. Your hobby to your heartbeat is what I want to talk about today. So when you create, and I have a lot of creatives that I'm talking with in my private group, and actually not private group, it's a public group, and I've listed it here for you. So if you'd like to join it, it is free to join. So grab your coffee and sit down and relax because we're going to kind of talk about all of the things that we will be addressing in this whole series. So, what inspired me to do the series is exactly what I just said. I hear from a lot of creatives in a private chat and they ask me questions. They'll send me a picture of what they're working on and they'll say, I don't know what to do with this. This is too square. How can I make it fit my shell? How can I not get wrinkles? There are many areas to work on in just creating that shell, but there's also that whole other side of creating when you've made all your shells and then you say, okay, now what do I do with them? So those are the kinds of things that we're going to be talking about in the series. And let me just go over some of the subjects that we'll be doing. And if you can drop a note in the chat and let me know if some of these things resonate with you or if maybe you have some ideas that you'd like to give to me. I've gathered quite a few ideas just from um, my own experience with you guys and my own experience creating myself. So one of the things that I want to do in this series is take the shell basics and go beyond. Many people are trying to create their shells, yet they're getting so overwhelmed because when they go online, they're hearing all different opinions. And so experience is always the best teacher. And I always tell people just play with it, practice with it, and see where it takes you. So your shell basics and beyond. And just making this list. I will drop the list later in the chat. So that would be the materials that you're using, how you're preparing your shells, and how you finish the shell. There's so many ways to do that. Another lesson we're going to be working on one of these weeks is called design and color confidence. And I do believe the third week I'm going to be working on that. So, design and color confidence, what is that? How do you pick a color palette? How do you work with that color palette? Now, on a shell, you don't have a lot of room to work with. You might have just one image that you want to put on, or you might have several images that you want to put on. But how do you work with the color palette? And how do you work with the trim colors and all of that? The next week, we're going to be talking about techniques that transform. So, layering, when to use resin, what kind of shimmer do you really want? All of those techniques are what's going to take your shells to the next level. Another week, we're going to talk about how do you take your hobby into a hustle. In other words, You really love what you're doing, but now what do you do with that? Okay, what now? What do I do now? So we're going to talk about pricing. I see a lot of people asking questions on what do I do? How do I price my pieces? Branding and selling. So those are going to be part of the hobby to hustle. Now, I would love it if you drop in the chat where you're calling from. I mean, where you're watching from. I don't really see anybody in the chat yet. Um, maybe I'll add an emoji and see if maybe that'll help get things started. There you go. All right, feel free to let me know who you are. That'd be fun. Another week, we're going to talk about presentation magic. How do you stage your shells? I see so many people just taking a picture of a shell on a flat surface, maybe in their workstation or on the brown paper that they were working on. And I do the same thing too. I think it's fun sometimes to show people, what things look like when you're working on them. But then let's take that and stage it. All right, we're going to stage it, photograph it, and then promote it. Those are really three big elements to to promoting your product. And oh, community and connection, building your tribe of supporters. When you post something on your Facebook page or your Instagram, you're putting it out there to the world, and you will get supporters doing that. People will like what they see, they'll comment, they'll support you. And most of the time it's positive, and I only work with positive. I don't allow any negative in my group. So another fun thing too is making something that you actually can say, "Wow, is that from a boutique?" It's to a different level of finish, of prettiness, of glam, or something that's very country. Like I did this show the other day, and it's very, very country farmhouse. And there's a place for that. There are a lot of people that have their homes decorated with farmhouse, especially at Christmas time, that great rustic look. So, what gets you stuck? What gets you stuck in limbo? I, I I hear a lot of people talking about those things, and how do we experiment and how do we intentionally create something? So right now, I believe that most of you out there are intentionally creating for Christmas, for Hanukkah, for all of the holidays, Thanksgiving that are coming up, and many of you are thinking about gift giving. It's wonderful to give these little trinket dishes for gifts around the holidays. So I want you to think about what are the things that you need when you're creating in each of the categories. Do you create with oyster shells? All right, here's an example of an oyster shell, and it's got beads and it's got a real pretty gold. It's not a chain, but it sure looks like one. It's just very delicate and it's very pretty, and it's a little more upscale than just putting a piece of elastic in here and hanging it on a tree. So taking your pieces to that next level, we want to talk about. Do you make clamshells? Where do you get your clamshells? There's another whole lesson in talking about where do you find the and prepare the product that you need. We love shell decorating, so we have what are these called? Oyster? No, they're not oysters. What are they? Come on, who knows what these are? I love scallops. We actually get our scallop shells because we buy stuffed scallops. And obviously this is a very small stuffed scallop and this is a very large one. But I made some little night lights with these. So there's so many things that you can do when you gather together as a tribe and you work together and you get support from each other, because many of you sell shells and many of you know where to find shells if you live by the ocean. But for those of you that don't, Etsy is an option, Amazon is an option. So we're going to talk about where we get our shells and then what we do with them. The other thing that we're going to talk about is embellishments. Where do you find these beautiful embellishments? We can talk about that in one of our lessons. There are so many of you that have reached out to me and had many ideas for what we should do in the What Now series. So um, feel free to continue to do that. Oh, I have someone that just said, I've been a vendor for years. My husband and I are authors. The issue with shell art people, they do not want to pay what your piece is worth. You know, something I do agree with you, I really do. I find that when I've talked to the people in my group, so many of them talk about pricing, and some people start at like $5, and some people go as high as $75, and that would be like a set. I work with napkin rings. We make napkin rings, and when you're working on a napkin ring set with embellishments and all the work that it comes into, not just the raw material, making the shell, but embellishing it and putting it together and making these, it's pricey, you know, it's pricey for you just as a creative. So how do we price our products? Um, I I can tell you for sure that I've done many of these and I sell these for $35. You can see the size of this. It's an oyster shell that's the size of my hand, and I have big hands. Um, and I've embellished it, and I've used resin. When you use UV resin, I think it takes it up to another whole level than just putting in Mod Podge. And then, of course, there's triple thick, there's Duraclear, there's so many other options there too. Um, and the other thing is, how much do you want to embellish this? You know, um, Glitzing it up a little bit. There's also stickers. I use Santa Claus sticker here. So we can talk about all the different types of shells, and we can also talk about the pricing for all of those different types of shells. A scallop shell, tiny like this, isn't going to be priced very high. All right, it's it's an actual shell. It's been painted, it's been resined, and it's also got um, it's a vellum. I actually give these away, the printables every Friday. I have something called Freebie Friday. If you join my group, it's a free group. You'll notice that every Friday it changes, and there's a new printable for you, and you can print them out at Staples, or you can print them out yourself if you have your own printer. So there, you know, there's just so many ideas that we all have. And if you do have an idea for a subject to discuss in one of these weeks, please let me know, because I think everything we talk about is relevant, whether you are a store. I know a lot of these people in my group have their own storefronts, especially in coastal areas. And there's also people who sell at craft fairs. So you're talking different audiences, and we wanted to make sure that we discuss all of those things. So thank you for I'm just looking to see. Thank you for messaging us about being a vendor, and I do hope that you're part of our group, because you could probably share a lot of great experience with us. I hope you're on next week. The other thing, too, one last thing. I'm not sure if Saturdays is the best time. I did have people reach out to me to say that they would like these events on weekends. I'd be happy to do them on Saturday mornings, but I also think that during the week might even be better, leading us into the holiday season. People just get so busy. But we have so many things to talk about. My goodness, we have resin to talk about. You know, the real resin. I've got a piece up here. Uh, you could just do shells all day long, put them into pieces like that, and that would be priced more like a $75 piece. But anyway, we'll talk about all those things as we progress each week. So thank you for being with me today. There's not a lot of you on, but I actually know that there will be more people watching this, because it is our first intro to What Now. So now what, or what now? I like what now. Thanks for being with me. Bye bye.